Alaskan Corla. I move the motion. Nuair atá muid ré, tásúlagam nach bhfuil an clógaigh ag rith. Gar míle mágad Alaskan Corla agus fáiltíom raibh an deis an rún seo a cardas cór na dála agus ní mórda marrá I dús agus ní matlam a bheith dúilteach a chuirdann sé díma orm go bhfuil athraithe nó lesaithe cara ag an rialtas. Mar an rún atá agam tá sé cóbunúsach sin tá mé gimpi ar an rialtas policy a orbert ó híomh na ninál atá an agus spruch ama agus spruch gáta a chur leis an policy sin. So ní riselum go mbeidh athraithe gceist nó lesaithe mar tá an rún cóbunúsach sin. Alaskan Corla, I'm tabling this motion to imploring the government really to develop as soon as possible a policy for the islands. And I want to say at the outset that I was hoping to hear that the government was genuine and in earnest about the urgent need to develop and publish such a policy for our offshore islands. And I wanted to start off on a positive plan. But when I read the amendment, I have to say it really knocked me back, because my motion is very straightforward. It sets out really the historical background to the lack of a policy, and then it simply goes on to call on the government to publish the policy within a time frame and to ensure the representatives from the island community. It's as simple as that. I'd like to be a lot more radical, but I went for what I thought would be a consensus motion. So it is a matter of disappointment to me. The policy needs to be accompanied by an action plan and a budget, and it must be underpinned by legislation if we're serious about our islands and maintaining a viable island community. Moreover, the forum which allows for such a policy, plan or legislation to emerge must be one which allows for the involvement of islanders from the outset and on an ongoing basis in the formulation and implementation of that policy and action plan. In that context, I did give a cautious welcome to the announcement by the Minister back in July. That welcome, I'm afraid, has gone now. And I give a cautious welcome to that it was your intention to seek Cabinet or Government approval to set up an interdepartmental committee for island development with a view to developing a cross-government island policy and an associated action plan. However, as you know well, Minister, the path to heaven is paved with good intentions and also with reports, including an interdepartmental report from 1996, which I'll be returning to, completed without the involvement of the islanders themselves, and all of these reports have gathered dust on various departmental shelves. Indeed, the Minister, your own statement was notable for its vagueness, its lack of timeframes, and its utter failure to recognise that the islanders themselves must be an integral part of any process proposed. The vagueness of the statement, which involved the setting up of an interdepartmental committee, along with the silence that prevailed until tonight, has done little to inspire confidence that the government has listened and learned from past mistakes. The Minister will be aware from repeated and urgent representations from the islanders themselves and from Cógáil na Nillán that the vacuum created by the absence of a policy on the islands has been detrimental to the viability of the island communities. The motion itself, which I won't go into, it's there in black and white, sets out the damning statistics which are still emerging from the Central Statistics Office following the census in 2016. This is in stark contrast to the islands of Scotland, which have seen a reversal in the trend of population decline. The most recent trend has in fact seen an increase in the population. A report in one of the newspapers showed that the population increased by some 4% in the 10 years up to 2011, with the biggest rises occurring on the island with the most population already. And that report showed that island leaders and business leaders said that new affordable housing and new opportunities were the ways of holding on to islanders and drawing in non-islanders. That reversal in downward trend population, of course, is premised, Minister, on a policy for the islands. and is penned and premised on legislation. Most notably, the Scotland Act 2018, passed in May 18. We have no policy and we have no legislation. Significantly, that Act sets out key definitions of the meaning of an island, a meaning of an inhabited island, and it says an inhabited island surrounded on all sides by the sea, but ignoring artificial structures such as bridges, which is something I'm going to come back to in terms of an island policy, and the meaning of island communities. Equally importantly, that Act in Article 3 provides for the preparation of a National Islands Plan. It provides for, amongst a lot of other things, for an island's community impact assessment, including having regard, can you imagine, to a request for a retrospective island community impact assessment. They're going to allow even to have a retrospective impact assessment. And there must be an annual review of the operation of the legislation, and there must be a full review of the actual legislation within 5 years. Now, that's on top of the Highland and Islands Board, which was set up in 1965. Absolutely no Irish equivalent here. Now, contrast this with what can best be described as the ad hoc approach of this government and successive governments to the development of the islands here. Indeed, in preparing for this debate, I read quite a number of documents, including the report of the Interdepartmental Committee published in 1996, the Joint Oireachtas report from 2014, the review of the capital expenditure by the Department of the Islands 1998 to 2004, the West Cork Island Study, which was a joint study between Cork County Council and FÁS, which was subsequently referred to in the 96 report as being a very well worthwhile study with many good recommendations that should be taken on board, clearly ignored. And of course, I read the most recent book by the renowned historian Professor Diarmaid Ferriter, entitled On the Edge, Ireland's Offshore Islands and Modern History. And all of those documents, amongst, I want to thank the Oireachtas Library as well for their papers, helped me get a deeper understanding in relation to the islands on top of my own practical experience. And actually, Minister, I'm actually, no words came to me when I thought, we have no policy for our islands. What jumps out from all the documents and the books cited, of course, is the resilience of our islanders in the face of repeated and ongoing neglect by successive governments. All the while, ironically, this neglect and the complete absence of a positive policy for islands has been accompanied by report after report, some of which I've mentioned, which one way or another has sought to recognise the special economic, social and cultural contribution which the offshore islands make to the life of our nation. In fact, those precise words are taken from the 1996 report, almost 23 years ago, of the last Interdepartmental Committee, which set for 3 years prior to the report. And then we look at page 18 of that report, and we really couldn't improve on it, Minister. And it's worth reading, because some of the words in tonight's motion, your amendments and my motion, are taken from that. In developing government policy to address issues, the following principles should underline any policy. I haven't time to read them all out. Page 18, I'll pick some of them. Islanders themselves should be prime movers in strategies to maintain their own communities. Interdepartmental report. Principles of equity, social partnership and full participation should underpin the state's approach to developing public policy in relation to island communities. A partnership approach between island communities and state agencies should be adopted in the development and implementation of a policy for the islands. Page 18, really worth looking at. Yet, notwithstanding those wonderful principles, the ad hoc reactive approach to the constant challenges faced by our island communities continued and continues. The islands are spoken about peripherally and are never at the heart of any government discussion, policy document or legislation. The National Planning Framework, known as Project Ireland, published with great fanfare and at great cost, and the National Development Plan, which accompanies it from 2018 to 2027, are a stark example of this continued neglect. And I'm just going to look at both of those documents, and see where is the word island referred to. And it's actually shocking. It's actually shocking and frightening. They're peripheral, difficult to find, and mixed up with a policy for rural areas. And I searched and searched to see could I find anything that would resemble a policy or a paragraph. I failed. So, National Development Plan, it talks about the money given to the Irish language, the Gaeltacht and the islands. So we have islands there. Later on, it talks about development of improved peer infrastructure on the islands. Nothing about a policy. The National Planning Framework, islands are mentioned in 3 contexts. Islands and coastal areas contain some of our most vibrant and culturally distinctive communities. No absence of words here to tell us how important our islands are, but no action. And they're mentioned peripherally in relation to broadband, and they're mentioned peripherally in relation to a marine economy. Now, moving from those documents to actual reality on the ground. Let me look at my own constituency, at the risk of being parochial, but I know my colleagues will cover Cork and Donegal, and other colleagues will cover other areas. If we look at Inishbofin off the coast of Galway, which you're very familiar with, Minister, an island that has distinguished itself by surviving with a vibrant community in the absence of any policy. They've led the way in ecotourism, and they are the first island to get the distinction of Leave No Trace, an outdoor ethics programme based on 7 principles for outdoor recreation, leaving minimal impact on the island's environment. It is also leading the way in the dark skies. It's also leading the way in food and in lots of other sustainable industries. However, year after year at the COGAL, the annual meeting, they point out the absence of certainty in relation to funding, the absence of a policy. And you know that this is an island that doesn't even have a primary care centre that you could actually call a primary care centre. And we've asked, myself and my colleague, Deputy O'Keefe, who's unfortunately not here, have asked repeatedly, where is the promised primary care facility? If we go to the Aran Islands, and I accept that work has been done on all of the islands. My point is it's been done in an ad hoc, reactive fashion, and not within a policy that shows that not alone do we cherish our islands, but we recognise that the islands are showing us the way to live sustainably. And if we had any sense or any courage, we would listen and follow them. So if we look at the Aran Islands, Minister, we have, despite the policy for the Gaeltacht, module cursi educus, agus sin tucha bhfuil an tara cóúdar an sin, coláis the nívón ara, inis man, coláis the government inis ír. Tá aithantas feite acu, tá sagam go bhfuil nívón mar scoil neamhsplach inis, ach an anón an aithantas sin, tá siad ag stracailt, agus ní bhuair siad fós an dar an múntóir. Now, ní hiigim sin, mar hiigim go bhfuil an rialtas agus tá molla tiltte agah ó híomh an policy don na scolanna scoilteachta, tá molla tiltte agah ó híomh an policy. Ach cad margheall an policy a chuirí bhaim, cén fá a bhfuil na scolanna sin ag stracailt de bhár a múntóirí breise. Maidir le inis ír, forvert na céfa, banní mé úsáid as na focail a dúsáid siad. Tá forbert chéamh ina siar pránach margheall ar an cheist contúirteach a bhaineann le tonta lonaí a cháiríonn an céamh ar thaobh amháin agus guaíonn ar a dúí ag crutha bara agus cara fáraga himpeall na céimhe ar an taobh eile go minic ag an am céine. Ní mór deilá leis an dá aib seo ag an am céine, mar ní léon deis an maidir le forbert céimeanna ar an géamh nó plán caiteachas céimnithe. Tá sé tugadh le fios ag an cóir le conda nach mai aon rud ag tarlú go mbeidh an muinú breise seo a heastíí an cinenne agus sunria sa stát ciste. Tá má tá an clog ag tanúlam, ba ba mé reis ag neura na díspóireachta le just i samplaí eile de códeachar sa tá sé an talamh gar magat.